that I found have been done to nonprofit organizations. The library in Southborough, the deed was given to the Friends of the Library because they are a 501(c). They're a nonprofit. But the town is not a nonprofit organization, are we?
No,
No, I didn't think so.
no. But, you know, it's hard to, you know, that's, I'm sure, a much different kind of transaction when you're talking about a library being given to a nonprofit that's gonna operate it, as opposed to a redevelopment like we're having here.
Well,
So,
and I think, and I thought I put in his notebook, but I think Keith gave us 2 or 3 examples, am I right?
Yes,
Yeah,
I gave you
but they were-
examples in
but they-
Kennebunk.
Yeah,
with
they
the-
were all to nonprofits.
Right, I give you an example in Kennebunk, and I give you an example in Brewer at Eastern Fine Paper.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that provided to me.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I ask a procedural question, Jim?
Yeah,
I'm just confused. I guess I thought you were gonna do the 2 articles separately. So I didn't ask, I have a question about Article 3. Some people spoke about both, but it was my impression you read the article and you spoke about that. Are you not gonna do Article 3, or are you just moving on?
that's true. I thought that's what we were gonna do, but
Yeah, if you'd like, you know, if people have questions specifically on Article 3, then I would certainly allow them to voice their questions.
okay. Then I'll read Article 3.
Sure.
Article 3, shall the selectmen of the town of Berwick be authorized to enter a long-term lease agreement and related documents for the leasing of the old Berwick High School and surrounding grounds on School Street with Sullivan School Associates LP or a related entity upon terms and conditions that the selectmen deem to be in the town's best interest and which may be required by the financing sources for the construction of affordable housing units on this site. Mr. Brewer.
Peggy, I would just like to reiterate most of what everybody said on Article 2, because I think the project has felt like it lacked transparency from the start. It feels like it's been riddled with errors and problems all along. And the second article, I agree with everybody. I just think it seems like for $50,000, there's an easier way to do this without risking the town's well-being. But for Article 3, I think it's a really uncomfortable place to be, to include the deeding of the police station for that length of time. And Eleanor, your question is concerning to me. What if we decide we want to do something there? What if you decide you want to do something different with the community center? Are we now in the position of having to ask somebody else what we can do there? And just in general, what if you wanted to change the footprint of that building? It leaves us in an uncomfortable position. And my last question is, for those 99 years, where are all those people gonna be? You've got potentially how many people in that building who are going to recreate, have barbecues, sit in their lounge chairs, or put a bicycle where? I think the question about how that happened through the planning board is a good one. And I think there are a lot of questions about how that happened, but from the point of view of Cumberland Farms, on the corner of School Street, I just would love to know where all those people are gonna hang out, in the police department parking lot. That's my question for the long term.
In the back, one on the new article.
In the back, come into the front. All right, specific to Article 3, I'm just wondering, in the event Article 2 fails, does Article 3 give you the authority to execute and convey the deed? Because that could be construed as a related document to the lease. So, I guess, are these carefully and craftily worded so if one fails, the other one still gets you where you want to be? And then I'll just leave you with, I spoke with Keith briefly about the insurance on the lease. $3 million is not enough for, and you know, you've been in the business, $3 million is what guys like you and I carry. That building completely developed will have a far higher value if something were to occur there. I think it should
want me to answer the
Yes,
question? But,
please.
you know,
If you can.
okay, if Article 3 doesn't pass, then the selectmen don't have the authority to do the lease, so I'm sure that the Batemans are not gonna be interested in doing any remediation for a building that they're not gonna be able to lease afterwards. So both articles have to pass for this project to go forward. And I think the $3 million, I can check, but I think that's for liability insurance. I don't believe that's fire insurance. That'll be based on what the value of the building is, and they have to have adequate homeowners coverage for that building.
That didn't answer the question. Thank you.
Was there someone way in the back that had his hand up?
I did. I was gonna say, he just did not answer his question.
In the back, hasn't spoken yet.
Dave Smokey. I just want an absolute clarification on what development premises is. It's not the school premises, it's not the police department or community center, it's absolutely everything else on the lot. And that's part of their lease. The total lease says 10.03 acres, which includes the police station, and community center. So when the arrows on Schedule B point to the police parking lot and the acreage behind the police station, that encompasses the whole perimeter, is that correct?
Yes.
So, just to clarify, if the community center was to ever do anything and we wanted to build a little addition on it, would we have to get permission from the lessee?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I mean, you have to get permission from the planning board to have a lot coverage. I mean, I'm not exactly sure all the development limitations on the lot, but we would have to stay within the footprint. I understand it to be a pretty large footprint. Those buildings are.
Yeah, but the existing footprint, we cannot go outside the existing footprint on our own property.
That's correct.
Is there any way on Article 3, I get all the way down to upon terms and conditions that the selectmen deem to be in the town's best interest. And I'm a little shaky there, putting it in your hands because I know it's gonna be behind closed doors and we don't get to hear it. Is there any way you can put in there that it's in front of us at like a public hearing type of thing, so you can get our input before you make a decision for it? Thank you.
Alan?
So I think a lot of municipal lawyers who come to a forum like this, you get to see what the words that we lawyers use end up, how they're being interpreted by people. And fairly, I mean, I understand people feeling like that gives you a big opening to do whatever you want. The lease that is going to be executed by the town is there. I mean, the reason why we put in just language to give you the authority to change it is if something came up that needed to be changed, then it gives you the authority to do it. And we've already seen that these things have come up, but this lease has been pretty well reviewed. And that is, so people should understand that that lease and the one that's been circulated is the lease that's gonna be executed by the town. There may be some minor modifications to it if something comes up in the financing process, but that's unlikely. But if we put that it's gonna be this lease and nothing else, and there had to be one word changed, you can't sign the lease. If the town authority just gives you the right to execute this lease as Exhibit A by its exact terms. So that's why there's a little bit of leeway given into the language. But I think people should understand that that lease that is being circulated here is the lease that, you know, is gonna be the one that's going to be executed. And it might be in a matter of weeks. If the remediation application gets done in a matter of weeks. Next thing that happens, the lease gets executed, and, you know, then the project is moving forward.
This man hasn't spoken. Okay, I'll get you.
Oh, Joe Frank, what he just said, that kind of disturbs me. Because he said the lease is in place, but you guys would have the authority, if it was in the best interest of Berwick, to change it or change the word and stuff. I don't think that's right with you guys' track record. I think it should all be brought in front of the public no matter what. No matter if they have to change one word, bring it before the public. Because what's been going on here, we can't really trust the town. They're not doing the best interest of Berwick. All I say.
Someone who hasn't spoken. Anyone who hasn't spoken yet?
George Murphy, 27 Tower Lane. Just a clarification on the question Mr. Levine had asked. He had asked if Article 2 was to fail, would Article 3 allow the board to continue on with the business at hand? I don't believe Mr. Shepherd answered that.
You went over there.
There he is. In the way that I understood that. So do you think if Article 2 fails and Article 3 passes, would Article 3 allow the board to continue on?
I thought I thought Mr. Levine asked another question. I thought he said if Article 3 failed, but either way, my understanding is both articles have to pass in order for the project to go forward. These gentlemen, Article 2 has to pass in order for the mediation to happen, and Article 3 has to pass in order for there to be a lease that's more than 75 years. If either of those gets defeated, the project doesn't go forward and the town owns the property with the existing environmental issues. Both have to pass.
Thanks.
Yeah, we're getting a second round, so we're gonna wrap this a little bit. Let's have it over here, and I'll go right through. Go ahead.
Peg
Okay.
first.
You will.
Yeah, I'm gonna hurry. With all due respect to Alan, you haven't sat through the meetings that this group of people have been sitting through. So the questions that Tom's asking, and that Joe just asked, and that Dave just asked, these things appear to be worded in such a way to offer a lot of flexibility. We've seen it. We've seen it here. So although you can tell us, that's just normal wording, so that if something needs to be changed, it can. Our fear is that it will be. That if we say, we don't like that deed transfer, but we understand, that, or somebody may, I'm really not in favor of the project because it's been such a disaster from my perspective. And there's been a lack of transparency, but it certainly looks, by the way that's worded with, as Jeanette noted, whatever documents, whatever the board thinks is in our best interest. When we read that, it certainly looks as though it offers you the ability in either A or B to have both A and B. There just needs to be a C, all of the above. So I understand your perspective or Alan's perspective, but I think these could be worded to tighten them up so that people had confidence that what they're voting for really was what they're voting for, not that either one offered the opportunity to do the one that doesn't pass if one doesn't.
Well, if we vote on this tonight, it's gonna be what you see, period.
Well, I guess there are a lot of us who aren't comfortable with that.
Barry?
Yeah, Peter Perry. I just have, actually a quick question that Alan made a comment about. And that's if, say the old school gets torn down, not the high school, but the old school building, Estabrook building gets torn down. I may be mistaken, but I think unless that, whatever is put there, if it's anything but another school building, it should be the same use then. You could put it on that footprint. Anything else, you'd need the 10,000 square foot density to be met. One other quick point is that I feel that if Article 2 failed, still could go forth, there just wouldn't be any brownfield loan available, but the project would probably still go ahead. I mean, that would be the government's decision.
White shirt.
Is this a copy of the lease, the proposed lease? I picked it up when I came through the door. Yes. Is it? Okay, why doesn't it describe on here, the part that says, development premises? It describes the school, it describes the easement to get to it, why doesn't it describe that third parcel? It's all one lease, right? It's covering that 10 acres. All eyes were on you.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand your question.
Alan,
But,
this lease was written up by you. In this lease, you described this piece of property right here. You also described this easement across here. I wanna know why this part is not described equally as well in this ground lease.
it says the school premises are a portion of the total lease premises
Yep.
containing 10.3 acres plus the excluded premises. So that defines the school premises.
Then we have Schedule A.
Right. So the 10.3 acres is what's depicted on Schedule B. So that's what shows what the development premises is. It's defined by reference to the exhibit. So you can see the exhibit, what's the development premises, and you can see the calculations of how the density or how the acreage is calculated.
That's not answering my question. My question is, you describe parcel 1, you describe the easement. Why don't you describe parcel 3? It's part of this agreement. This lease covers all of that property. The part that's highlighted yellow, the part that's highlighted in green. Why is it all on this document? This document should represent everything. You're shaking your head.
Yeah, I mean, I see it, Oscar, I don't know how much more I can explain it. Here's the exhibit showing what's being leased, here's the
But
lease
what are
that
these
makes
people
reference.
gonna vote on now? Are they gonna vote just on this green part, on this yellow part, or nothing?
Both.
Then why isn't it in here?
Well, it is, I mean, you don't see it, but I see it, that's all I can say.
All right, I have one last question. You said that the town has, or somebody said the town has an agreement with the developer, already signed, to allow them to be doing work here.
We have an option agreement, yes.
Okay, what is, the amount of, money that was deposited? You know, to have a legally binding contract, you have to have consideration. How much consideration was given for that?
No money has changed hands.
And how do you have a legally binding contract?
We have an option agreement that allows the Bateman folks to be in there to do some minimum remediation prior to the votes. And they've provided us a certificate of insurance, with us, giving us protection.
Thank you.
There may have been a couple more over here, is there any more over this side? Yeah.
I spoke before about Article 3 being open-ended, and I still feel that it is. I'm trying to get clarification, so I'm an informed voter. I'd really like Tom's question answered. If Article 2 fails, conveying the deed for 180 days, does Article 3 give you the power to do it?
The answer is yes.
I played the word game, I kind of know.
Let's just get it repetitive now, but go ahead.
Yeah, well,
Well, it
I
wasn't
mean,
really
it may be asked in a little different way, and it's worth answering if you don't understand it, because it is a little confusing. Article 3 gives the Board of Selectmen the authority to enter a long-term lease agreement lease the property. Now, if the Batemans, I mean, our understanding is if they can't get the remediation done the way they need to have it done, they're out of the project. Now, the selectmen will have the authority, if they wanted to work out an arrangement with someone else, just like, you know, they were given the authority initially, I guess, to sign a 75-year lease. So in theory, they could enter into an agreement with someone else for the leasing of the property.
With all due respect, Mr. Shepherd, and related documents for the leasing, is the 180-day deed needed to make this happen for the lease? So can it therefore be conveyed by the Board of Selectmen if Article 3 was to pass and Article 2 wasn't?
Now, in my opinion, and I can give it right here, the town has to have specific authority to deed town-owned property. It cannot be something that's couched in the terms of a lease authorization and it be other documents. Conveying title very specifically has to be done by town meeting authority. So unless Article 2 passes, the town does not have the authority to convey title by virtue of there being some language in Article 3 that talks about related documents.
Thank you.
Thank you. David Rodriguez. I wonder if Article 3 would have passed a couple years ago when the town voted, would we even be having this discussion now? Or with an article as broad as Article 3, would the selectmen have had everything in their power to do this all behind closed doors without any discussion from the town?
Okay. Just for a point of reference, the selectmen can't do anything behind closed doors unless they're in executive session, number one.
That's how everything's done.
I'm glad that I gave, it's always good to laugh. Glad I gave you something to laugh about.
Thanks, Al.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Number two, what you're asking is, again, sort of another variation of the same thing of, like, what authority they have in the context of, why don't you repeat your question?
Yeah, for instance, what the town voted to
Oh, I
approve
see,
was a
yes.
75-year lease.
Right.
What's being considered now is a 99-year lease. In Article 3, there's no lease
That's
term
right.
here. Oscar asks, what lease are we voting on? We're not voting on any lease, we're voting on an article to give the select board the authority to do a
Any
50-year lease, a 100-year
Excuse me,
lease,
sir.
a
Right here,
150-year lease, a 200-year lease, or a 500-year
Right,
lease.
but that's true. And I think your first question was, if this warrant article was passed several years ago without a term in it,
Yes.
would you be here? And the answer is
Yes.
yes, because of the conveyance of title. So that
Well,
wouldn't have given you the right to convey
And I
title.
question that because we're talking about thin profit margins, and we're talking about profit margins over 100 years. So if the select board increased the term to 150 years, does that change a $50,000 ballgame? As Bateman is explaining, it's that tight, this project is that tight. So perhaps we could work around this deal and we would not be having this discussion. The second part is lease term, of course, is tied to finances and tied to what's good for the town. And I've asked the question at the last meeting, I've asked it tonight, I got an indication that I'm not going to get an answer. I need to have an answer to the question, what is the financial benefit to this town for this project? When this was started, a lot of talk about how bad that building is and how much it's gonna cost to clean it up and how all that was gonna be done for us free is a great boon to Berwick. Well, let me tell you, maybe because the town erred in accepting the building, we couldn't get the grant funding to clean it up. But anybody who develops that building, other than the town will have the option for these same grants. So we do not need to accept low-income housing to save that $450,000. And what I need answered for economic viability is, what is the financial advantage to the town to going forth with this project? Understanding what the projected costs are to the school, to the police department, to the fire department, to the Department of Public Works, to everything. And as a town manager, you don't recommend anything without the cost and the return. You mentioned that there's a lot of variability. How full are the units gonna be? Well, what's the high end and what's the low end? What is the answer to that question?
You asking me?
I'm asking the board, I'm asking you.
You know, you're in a position right now, totally speculative. How many, the units that are gonna be there, how many kids are gonna be in there, how many are not gonna be there, how many units are gonna be filled? Those are speculative questions. What impact it's gonna have on the police department? I can't answer that. Who's gonna be able to tell you if you're gonna have crime related to those units? You can look at some other background information and what other communities are doing, which we'll do.
Which you will do, you asked us 2 years ago to say, we were asked 2 years ago, when are we going to do it? We are told a unit must be occupied January 1st for this even to go over. That's what you told us at the last meeting. You wanna know when we're gonna do this? When we're further in the hole, when we're trying to dig ourselves out, and we're gonna say, where is this boom that we got? Where is what was promised us? That's when we're gonna do that. And we do speculate. When we look forward to business decisions, we do speculate. We speculate at the high end, and we speculate at the low end. And that's what a manager does. So what is the cost benefit to this town? Where do the numbers lie? Why is this such a good deal for Berwick?
I think you have excellent question here, because I really do believe that, in fact, I, for one, have thought for a long time, it's gonna be 55 years and older.
Yes.
Everybody did. I was told, no, it's gonna be affordable housing. And I've heard all kinds of definitions for affordable housing. Or I have my own definition. It probably is not right, but. But I do think that's a study that we should do. I really think, between now and the 24th, we should look and see what these things do cost us in the town. If we get a lot of children up there, we all know what that's doing to this community. I mean, this year our school budget increased $600,000. And it was, and that was because we had all these children that are coming into Berwick. So there is some costs with this, so there's no doubt about it. We will get tax dollars, that's one thing we will get, and we will get it assessed along with the rest of the town. They will not do the assessing, we will, but, and we will get tax dollars. And I'm one, probably, I'm not the only one here, but I graduated from that high school, just a middle building, and I want to preserve that historical building, whatever, so, I don't know.
And I support that, and we support that, and there are other